Good Saturday morning, everybody. ABC 10 meteorologist Brenden Mincheff here with a winter storm update. We're going to break it down into three parts, make it nice and simple. It's a very dynamic storm. There's a lot of different moving pieces to it. And the first one we're going to talk about is that rain and the snow. So as of about 8:30 Saturday morning, this is what the radar looks like. But as the morning wears on and as the day goes on, this rain band here that's setting up this morning is going to get stronger and move in across the valley, while snow just really will continue over the Sierra pretty much all day long today, even in towards tomorrow as well. So again, heavier rain bands going to start to move in from the west to the east, and northern areas are getting it first. So we've seen this morning areas like Redding, Chico, now towards Yuba City, and eventually Sacramento down towards Stockton, Modesto, also going to be looking at this rainfall as the day wears on. So here's Futurecast now. This is about 10 a.m. Saturday morning, and you see the heavier band of rain now with the yellows, the oranges, and even at times a little bit of red in there as well. You see that red coloring. This is going to be very heavy rainfall. I mean, by the time we get to this evening, we could have an inch of rain on the ground. So we're going to get a lot of rain over a relatively short amount of time. In terms of snow, it's really, you're going to see the blue here. It's just going to continue even through this afternoon and the overnight hours. So we might get a little bit of a break in the rain. If you think back to the storm last weekend that we had, it still kind of looked like this, right? Where we had that initial band of rain move through. Then it was like, oh, okay, we'll get a little bit of a break in the afternoon hours. That's not exactly what happened last week. So I'm going to be a little cautious about saying we're definitely going to get a break in the rain here. But according to the data, it does look like we'll see a little bit of a pause in the valley between about 3 to 4 p.m. until closer towards 8 o'clock at night, when we see that rain redevelop behind it. But even when the valley, if and when the valley sees a break in the rainfall, the snow is just going to continue over the Sierra. So there's not going to be any time at all on this Saturday that I can say, hey, this is going to be the time to get up to the Sierra if you want to get into the snow. It's going to be slow going all day, if not impossible at times, because of how much wind there will be as well with that snow. We'll break down the wind later on in the video, but you do see that rain in the evening and the overnight hours picking up yet again. Now this is midnight on Sunday. Snow continues, but the heavier rain redevelops, especially into the foothills. Once we get towards Sunday morning, this is going to be more of an off and on rain event with showers, maybe even a thunderstorm or two moving through the valley, whereas snow continues. Very similar story. I've said this basically the entire time we've been looking at Futurecast. Snow continues while the rain in the valley becomes more hit or miss through Sunday, drying out for the most part once we get into the afternoon and evening hours on Sunday in the valley. Snow finally begins to taper off late in the day on Sunday. And once we get towards Sunday evening, Sunday overnight in towards Monday, that's when we see everything really start to wrap up, although we could still be dealing with a few lingering snow showers by the time we get to the Monday morning commute. So bringing it back to Saturday, to today, what are we looking at? Well, a potential break in the rain looks to start around 4 o'clock, ends around 7 o'clock or so. Could be plus or minus an hour here or there if we do see that break. But our weather window, this is what I'm looking for, about 4 to 7 p.m. on this Saturday, when we could see a little bit of a break in the rain. But do be aware that rain will still be in the area. So it's not like we're going to stay dry forever. Rain is going to be in the area. Might just hit the pause button a little bit on the rainfall for just a couple hours this afternoon. In terms of how much rain we're looking at, the models are pretty in line here, looking at about 1 inch to 2 inches in the Sacramento, Elk Grove area. Very similar numbers in Stockton, maybe a little bit less once you get down towards Manteca, Modesto, and then up near Oroville as well. Again, just a little bit less. But again, 1 to 2 inches really along I-5, heavier amounts of rainfall. Once we get into the foothills, now looking at upwards of 2 to 4 inches of rainfall possible just by the time that one day is done, by the time Saturday is done. The system as a whole, now we're closer to 2 inches by the time we get towards Sunday evening. 2 inches in Elk Grove, 2 inches in Stockton, and maybe just a little bit less down towards Manteca and Stockton. But overall, looking at a nice amount of rain here, a couple inches expected in the Sacramento area. 1 to 2 is the forecast. And then once we get into the foothills, you see that again, about 2 to 4 inches for most of the foothills. And again, there's pretty good model agreement here, because that was the American. This is the Euro model, and you see these numbers, again, very similar. 1.8 Sacramento, 2.5 Manteca, 1.1 Modesto. So these numbers are just model data. They're just computer numbers. They're forecasts. The range is better, about 1 to 2 inches, as I've said. But if we get stuck under a thunderstorm, whether that's in Sacramento or, Stockton, Manteca, even somewhere in the foothills like Ione, if you get stuck under a thunderstorm, you're going to get a lot more rain a lot quicker. So your overall number, or your overall totals of rainfall will be higher. than areas that don't see those thunderstorms. In terms of snow, this is not going to be all that helpful. We're looking at up to 5, maybe 6 feet on the highest peaks and passes. There's going to be so much wind up in the Sierra that you're really not going to be able to stick a ruler in the ground or even a yardstick and say, oh, yeah, we got 55 inches, we got 47 inches, whatever the total may end up being. It's going to be very, very difficult because of how windy it's going to be. So I don't want to linger on these totals. These are computer estimates of how much rainfall or snowfall, but I do want to say the 40 to 60 inch range is totally in play. But again, we're going to have higher amounts because of just how much wind we're going to be seeing. It's going to blow that snow around. Visibility is going to be reduced. It's going to be a mess up there. That's why there's that winter storm warning from now until 4 a.m. on Monday. Again, travel nearly impossible. Highly discouraged. If you don't have to go through the Sierra, I'd recommend you don't. 3 to 6 feet of snow above 4,000 feet and 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts across the highest peaks and passes on this Saturday. That's the second thing I want to talk about is the wind. It's a big deal. As we look at the Gilmore backyard this morning, you can see all the leaves and the plants, even the camera blowing around right now just because of how windy it is. To give you an idea, it's about 30 miles per hour this Saturday morning in the Gilmore backyard. And gusts are even stronger than that. So we see sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour across the valley. But when we look at gusts, again, even higher, almost 40 miles per hour. This is at Sacramento Executive, 35 miles per hour right now in Marysville, 36 Stockton, 26 in Modesto, 38 in Placerville. So any loose objects are going to be blowing around out there. Holiday decorations could be blowing around. The other thing that we're concerned about are trees. Not necessarily a whole tree toppling over could happen, but more likely tree limbs, tree branches, things like that could bring a power line down, something along those lines, and take out power for a little bit. So that is something we're watching right now. And there is a wind advisory until 3 p.m. this Saturday afternoon with gusts up to 50 miles per hour possible really in the valley. This is totally in play, 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and especially because winds are out of the south. So if you're going east or west today on a road, 2 hands on the wheel because you're really going to feel those crosswinds. It's going to be really windy out there with those gusts. Again, upwards of 40 towards 50 miles per hour at times. Again, loose objects could blow away, secure things such as holiday decor, and then down trees, limbs could knock out power for a time. Something we'll keep an eye on. Looking at future winds, this is for Saturday, and really the wind event is just today, not as windy tomorrow, but you do see those estimated sustained winds, 20 to 30 miles an hour, all across the valley, maybe even a little higher in the northern Sacramento Valley. Once we get towards about 2, 3 o'clock, we start to see those winds relax, not as strong, still about 10 miles an hour, so a decent breeze in the valley. But that wind advisory does expire at 3 p.m. Excuse me. There's a lot of information today. It does expire at 3 p.m., but it will stay windy in the Sierra really through the overnight hours. So foothills, Sierra locations, not as windy once we get in towards this afternoon and evening, but it will still be windier than in the valley. So the third and final point I want to make here is that travel is going to be very, very difficult. I touched on it a few times, getting more specific. Anywhere along really 80, 50, all the mountain roads in between. Anything in purple here is that highest level extreme impacts. This is the Winter Storm Severity Index. It's going to be very, very difficult to travel. A lot of snow, a lot of wind, reduced visibility. It's just going to be a mess. If you don't have to travel, really the recommendation is that you don't travel. We've had chain controls this morning. Chain controls are going to linger through Sunday, maybe even in towards Monday morning as well. So again, if you don't have to go to the Sierra, the recommendation really is just don't. Chain controls are active at this point. Road closures may be likely if the plows cannot keep up with how much snow they're getting. Near whiteout conditions because of that wind. Again, on the highest peaks and passes, 80, 90 mile per hour wind gusts, not out of the question. That's going to make visibility very, very low. So major travel delays if you are going through the Sierra. Again, if you don't have to, don't. But if you are, bring the patience with you because major delays expected. And at times, frankly, travel just may be impossible. So to recap, this morning, heavy valley rain, strong winds. The winds, not as much of a factor once we get into the afternoon overnight hours, but it will still be breezy. The wind's really a morning thing, but that rain will be off and on through the afternoon and into the overnight while the snow just flat out continues the entire time. Not going to see a break in that snowfall. Sunday, rain and snow gradually start to taper off from the north to the south. So areas like Yuba City, Redding, Sacramento, they're going to start to see that rain taper off first. And then later on, we'll see areas like Stockton, Manteca, Modesto, southern foothills start to see the rain and snow taper off as well. It'll be a gradual process, but it will come to an end eventually. Today is the bulk of the rainfall in the valley, though. Heavy rain, high temps only in the lower to middle 50s. Highs in the Sierra, if they even make it that high, about 35 in Truckee, 37 South Lake Tahoe. You see the pink, that is that winter storm warning. As we look at the next 10 days, rainy pattern not done just yet. So even after this weekend storm, we dry out a little bit to start this coming week. And then we see the chance for yet another winter storm arrive by the time we get towards next weekend. So again, rainy pattern not quite done yet. This is the second weekend in a row with some rain. We'll take it. Be sure to stay with ABC 10 for the very latest on the news and weather as this winter storm makes its way through Northern California.